Good afternoon, everybody. It's Heidi at Hen and Chicks Studio here in Conrad, Iowa. And we had so much fun last night during our hour-long product showcase is what we call it. There's never enough time to talk about all of the things that we want to talk about. So that's why we end up coming on live practically every day, because we can share things endlessly, and that makes it fun for us. It makes it fun for you. So I wanted to come back on today and expand a little bit more about the book Project Parade. This is from Peachtree Patterns, and Shelly Robson is the designer and happens to be another shop owner here in Iowa, which is wonderful. She's at the Quilted Forest in Forest City, and you can be watching for an event we've got planned with her in July. So there'll be more about her coming up, but this book has some great projects in it. And we started with this particular project. This is the Country Fresh fabric collection, and I just think it's so adorable with the classic red, white, and black, and then the animals and strawberries and cherries, chickens, cows, stacked animals. There's the stacked animals. You got your eggs and watermelon. It just is adorable. I could go through each piece and tell you what I like about each piece. But it's the kind of collection, including a stripe, that looks good because of the high contrast in a project like this. And it also had a panel. So it not only had a stripe, but it also had a panel. And we wanted to be able to use the pieces in there. So in this particular book, it's called Boxes from Fat Quarters. And it makes a quilt. Let's see, I have to even look. I should have looked. It is 64.5 inches square. There are a couple other versions, sizes that you can make as well. I think she has one that's more like 6 blocks as well, so you could really do it. It's the kind of thing you could make this in king size if you wanted to. It's easily expandable. And we put together a kit of the Country Fresh Boxes from Fat Quarters kit, and that kit has just the fabrics. It does not have the book in it, okay?
Mm-hmm. So it does have that panel.
Does have the panel. It has the fat quarter of the stripe, so that you can cut that up in there as well. I think it's a fun way to use the stripe, and I just think this is a really fun use.
And Heidi, we were looking for, if they tuned in last month to our product showcase, talking about using panels.
Yes.
And that's where you're looking specifically of cutting down panels for that. But you could use a larger scaled print on some of those bigger blocks, or you could just repeat some of the other prints that are in there.
Right. But it works perfect for those cute panels. And then, again, these two quilts, you're right, Jamie, we were talking about using panels. And this is also out of the book. And this she calls Panel Parade. The one on the back of the book has a skeleton on it. And of course, we're constantly looking for projects that panels go in. But I think we always have to remember, too, that we now are seeing a lot of larger scale prints. This one happens to be patriotic, but if you haven't noticed, florals are in. And boy, when I look at the fabric we've got coming in the next 6 months, you are going to see a lot of florals. Well, if we tried to cut this up into a 2-inch square, you'd lose the fun and ambiance of this particular print. So trying to find something to use that larger print in is great. Well, it also had a lot of coordinates. As you can see, the cute, the bias plaid, and the Liberty Bell, that kind of thing. So again, a great use of all of those prints in one quilt. Again, we have a fabric kit for this. This did make a, let's see, what does it say on there? The size, I can't remember what size this is, but roughly 50 by 60, something like that. Probably, I was gonna say, and there's the pretty fabric. Yes, there's the pretty fabric. Right, 50 by 66. There we go. I see it. And I love this. You know, I know it's probably not quite big enough for a Quilts of Valor, but certainly a few more borders. It'd be easy to add more of that particular block.
You know, Heidi, it could be really cute with a wide border of that middle panel.
Oh yeah,
fabric.
Bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really could be. And so when we find a book that we think has good projects in it, we like to show more than one option so that you know when you buy this book, it's $18, but it has 15 projects in it. So that's like $1 and some cents per project. So it makes for really good stuff. All right. Well, then Carol, one of our customers, was busy making let me show it to you, the Superstar quilt. Right here, the purple, the one that shows it in purple and green. She happens to be a purple lover and had this purple floral and was making it. And I just was attracted to that particular design. I think there's something very traditional about this pattern. I think this right here makes a 96-inch square quilt. And I think when you're making a big scale quilt, you're looking for the
other thing that's nice is it has the black and white. So
yes, the black and white, yes. When you're making that particular block and it's big, I think that looks good on a big bed. There's sometimes I think that if we tried to make a really small scale quilt or small scale pieces on a big bed, the scale isn't right. So there was something that was really attractive to me about this could be a very nice, truly a nice bed quilt. And it comes down to that basically, let's go back to this photo again. So we can, I like to diagnose the quilt.
And where's the other photo of?
There's a baby one. Mm-hmm. Right here. There's a baby one.
Just to give a different idea.
Yep. There's a baby one. So I'm going to say diagnose what we've got going on here. It calls for 4 lights and 4 darks. So what she's done is that each star has a light and a dark. Light and a dark, light and a dark, light and a dark. So that's how she's done this particular block. Obviously, the baby one on the other is just 2 colors, a light and a dark. And this one happens to be a print and a solid. And I think it's fun. The print and the solid is a nice contrast to get some pattern and texture into there. This one looks like it's more tonals. And then you can, of course, repeat the colors in the border depending on what you want to do. So I had a little fun pulling out bolts of fabric because this is what is fun to do at Hen and Chicks Studio. We move fabric around all the time, sometimes because we're pulling it out and playing with it. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to see how many different combinations that we could come up with or variety? And I think I came up with 4 that I'm going to show you today. Last night I showed 2 or sort of 2. And I thought we'd have a little more fun today talking about it so you could sort of get some ideas and inspiration. And by all means, we'd love to hear of these versions, what you like. So, or if you have a different idea, please comment in the comments. So we're going to start right here, Jamie.
Okay.
Last night we were showing the new collection, Time Well Spent. And this is a Henry Glass collection. The designer is Janet Nesbitt, and very traditional kinds of looks. I got inspired to think that I would use the 4 greens as the dark and the 4 non-green as the light. So the green for me would be the like a constant, and that you'd have red and green one would be yellow and green, blue and green, purple and green, if that makes sense. Now, playing around, would I go with a dark background or a light background? So we pulled out, this is another piece from the Time Well Spent collection. It's a dark brown. With a little, well, I think it's still brown, but more blackish line in it. And I think that the colors would pop off of that. Or maybe you want to go more traditional. This happens to be is this a melange? No, this is this is a mix, one of the mix pieces, and it's much more traditional, a little creamy, and again would be a very good neutral with that.
And there's several other pieces in that Time Well Spent collection.
Correct.
That you could mix and
there's
match. We kind of talked
there's close
about
to 30 pieces. I could have picked 4 red and 4 green. I could have gone
blues and golds,
yeah,
and
I
blues
mean,
and
blues
greens,
and golds,
whatever.
You could really go different directions. I was just trying to think of a different way to make that block pop. All right, then we move over here to this next one. And if you haven't heard us talk about Jason Yenter, he is a designer from In the Beginning, and we're teasing you all a little bit with a brand new quilt, and there'll be more about that, the Sunshine quilt. But Jason Yenter certainly is known for his colors and patterns, and this is a new collection of what I would call a basic for him, where it's not, there's no print to this other than the simple design of the quilt, or of the pattern. I mean, it's just kind of a tonal on tone. Yeah. So I kind of laid it out here thinking that these 4 would be my dark and these 4 would be my light. And can you just imagine how those stars, those, you know, I call that a carpenter's wheel, would just jump. But at the same time, my gosh, we could mix this up. We could do, you know, red and purple, red and blue, gold and green, and it could be all completely different as well. Now I had to bring in, he has 2 other great backgrounds. Again, could do it against that kind of light, creamy color, and I think they would pop very nicely. Or make it stunning, stained glass almost, against this black. And I think that would be just absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay. So those are 2 versions. And I'm going to work right here. So I'm going to just move that a little bit so we can bring in the next one. And I showed this briefly last night. This is the classic collection from Wyndham called Sugar Cube. Oh, we've got a very pretty quilt named Amelie made out of this fabric. But it is so classic, 1930s. And I do happen to love red. And so I immediately went to that I would pick, again, I'm going to say for my dark, these 4 reds. And for the lights, these 4 here. And this one has a little more green and blue in it. You know, part of me says I may or may not like that when I got to that. I would not ever hesitate to actually using like one of these 2 times. I could easily see where if I felt like this ended up being too much green or something like that, that I could certainly repeat one of these. And I would go with a classic white background. You know, maybe by bringing this into the star, it would open up the opportunity for a green border, and that it would help pull it all together. I think I would probably be playing with that and seeing how that looks, how that works out.
And plus, when you added the white background as the background, and these pieces are smaller, you know, then it's going to pop off that white just a little bit too.
Absolutely.
It all depends how you play with it.
Yes.
And
yes.
It, of course, what people want from their own projects.
That's correct. That's correct. All right, I've got one more color combination, and this time I went a little crazy, a little brighter, a little funkier, but I picked for I'm going to call them the lights at the moment. I picked the lights. I stayed within the same fabric collection. So these all happen to be Melange Basics, which we love that Melange collection. So let me see if I can pull these out real quick. Let me see if we can, and then so you can see that I picked these 4 Melange pieces. Getting them. There we go. So if you want to say, kind of has a little bit of control, right? But then we're going to spice it up on the other part of that star, and we're going to add in, these are several different of the QT Brilliant. This happens to be Brilliance. They're the different Dan Morris fabrics. So that one is the teal. This is the green.
And what a difference each one of these would make. This one definitely keep more maybe whimsical, or even I think of something fun and bright for a room, a kid's room even.
You bet. Let me put the, got that up. It's sort of blue, but when you put it next to purple, it kind of goes purpley. But look how bright and cheery that combination would be. I just think it could be gorgeous and completely different. Yes, completely different than completely different than the other three that I've shown. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's what makes our job fun, is the constant challenge, and also the fun of being able to put different combinations together to get different end results. So we'd certainly love to see and hear what you guys think about these combinations. And if you have a combination of 4 lights and 4 darks that you would use at home, upload a photo in the comments. You can certainly do that as well. But I do think this book has a lot of possibilities. And
Heidi, even as we're looking at this here, even on their cover photo, you could take some of these same selections and pop them into one of the other quilts in that book.
Yep, I think we'll be doing more out of this. There's even some small projects in here that have certainly been fun. Well, we are so glad to have been able to expand a little bit on our conversation about selecting fabrics with you from last night. And we certainly hope that you'll come in and let us help you be creative.